Hi, I'm Nathan Ramsey, and welcome to the first edition of Headlines Across Australia. Headlines is a new show about information and events that shape Indigenous lives. We'll be here every week at 4:30, and we'll bring you interviews and stories from around the country. First up, let's take a look at what's making news. Last week in Sydney, Gerry Adams, the head of the IRA's political wing, Sinn Féin, met with Indigenous community leaders. At the start of his week-long visit, Mr Adams introduced himself at a breakfast address as an Aboriginal person from Belfast and called on the federal government to treat Aboriginal leaders fairly when they met.
Their spokespersons have to be respected. Dialogue, trying to achieve an end to injustice, an end to whatever conflict there is, has to be done in an honest and inclusive way, and a process needs to be put in train to achieve those now.
After a private meeting with several Indigenous leaders, a reception was held at Customs House, and Adams was welcomed onto the Eora people's land.
I wanted to recognise the original landowners here on this continent, and we could not have made the visit without coming to meet with the native people.
Following an exchange of gifts, Mr Adams was entertained by a group of young Aboriginal dancers from the La Perouse community. In an historic native title claim, the residents of Saibai Island in the Torres Strait had been recognised as having native title over their land and several other neighbouring islands. The successful claim, the first to be negotiated out of court, brings together the Torres Strait Regional Authority, the Islands Coordinating Council, along with a number of government agencies, and sets a model for other islands in the region to follow. And in Sydney last Saturday night, the Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras was held. The parade is the culmination of a month-long festival celebrating gay and lesbian cultural diversity. The annual event is the largest street parade in Australia, and this year, a record number of Indigenous people were involved.
Last year we had 300 people in the float. This year we've got probably up to about 400. It's a significant size float in the Mardi Gras. Having that many people marching in what is a very, very visual event is very important, and it's a really strong statement. That's hopefully what we're trying to convey.
Next week, Headlines will feature a story on the Indigenous involvement in this year's parade. Reconciliation is something that's on everyone's lips at the moment. Someone who's been very vocal about achieving change through reconciliation is Linda Burney. On Headlines today, we feature a special insight into the life and work of Linda Burney.
Hi, I'm Linda Burney. I'm a member of the Wiradjuri Nation, and we're from southwestern New South Wales. I've got 2 children, Wilyari and Binny. I've spent the last 20 years of my life working in Aboriginal education and Aboriginal affairs. I've had the experience of working at the local, the regional, the state, the national and the international level. It's been a wonderful experience, and this is the story of that experience.
Well, I grew up in a little place called Witten, which is down in the southwestern part of New South Wales. It's part of Wiradjuri country. And I was the product of an Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal union, and probably caused the biggest amount of gossip in that town for many years, because my mother was a non-Aboriginal woman, my father was Aboriginal, and I never met him until I was about 27, 28. And I was also illegitimate. So you can imagine what that would mean in a tiny, tiny little country town in 1957. But on the other hand, there was, I was brought up by my non-Aboriginal mother's aunt and uncle, who were brother and sister, who were incredibly loving and supportive, and didn't necessarily tell me or encourage my Aboriginality, but certainly gave me some very old-fashioned morals of decency and honesty and respect for your elders. But what was interesting is that they got me when they were in their 60s. I would have been probably adopted out or removed if that hadn't happened, under the government policy of the day.
Listen, you kids, I'm not going to be home until really late tonight. I've got to go to a meeting. On a personal level, I have 2 children. and a wonderful, wonderful partner, Rick Farley. And we have a pretty nice life. He has 2 children that live a long way from him, so that makes him sad sometimes. But you know, how could you be without your family? And he and my 2 children are my family. So, Willie, you've got tutoring this afternoon, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I'll come straight home.
Okay, and don't forget I'm getting home late tonight, but I'll call you, all right, just to make sure everything's okay.
We'll
For
still
any
stay a
young
bit.
kids today, it's tough. But for Aboriginal kids, it's bloody tough. You go to some of those rural communities where the opportunity for employment is so limited that why is school an attractive option when there's nothing to look forward to except maybe having to leave home to travel away from your family and your cultural roots and your country. But the stunning thing about young Aboriginal people today and Aboriginal kids is their understanding of Aboriginality, their understanding that they have a place in this country and no one's going to tell them they haven't. And the pride and the walking tall that you can see in these kids is just fabulous.
I remember really clearly being made to feel incredibly ashamed of being Aboriginal, not by any ill intent, but by what was taught in the curriculum at high school, particularly in I think it was first year they used to call it then, year 7. And I thought, something's wrong here. And I think that was actually the thing that probably started me off on the thought of being a teacher.
Well, this is Lethbridge Park Public School, and I started my teaching career here, gosh, back in 1979. And I taught here for 2 years, and the thing that really stays with me about this place is that it was a time in my life where I was really wanting to do something and recognise that there was something terribly wrong with the education system in relation to Aboriginal children, because there was one other Aboriginal teacher here. His name was Les Ridgway, and Les and I had Aboriginal children in our classrooms before 8 o'clock, before 9 o'clock, at recess, at morning tea, at recess, at lunch, at after school. And I think the reason was because suddenly there was something that the kids could relate to in the school. And of course, most of the kids out here, or a lot of the kids, were from single-parent families. There was a lot of social issues, but these amazing young people that really, I hope, benefited from the fact that they had an Aboriginal teacher when they were 6 or 7 years old. You'll hear a lot of Aboriginal people say, young people are our future. The 10 years that I spent as president of the New South Wales Aboriginal Education Consultative Group was really about young people and about making the education system more responsive to the needs of Aboriginal children, but also, importantly, making sure that what's taught to non-Aboriginal people is the truth about the history of this country. The AECG is an organisation that represents our views, Indigenous views, to government on those really important issues. How's things going?
I need to sit down with you this afternoon.
Do you want to go to Maureen? You don't?
It would be impossible for me to go. I mean, I've just got
What about if you just went up for one day?
Give me a night to think about it.
All right.
Okay?
Yep, it's fine.
Linda got the chief executive officers for every New South Wales public sector agency to incorporate the council's vision statement into their own agency's vision statement, it's a big step for government agencies to think, well, this is what we should be actively involved in. The other thing is that she got them to undertake reviews within every agency as to what they're doing towards achieving reconciliation within the public sector. So for me, I think that's one of the proudest achievements that Linda's been able to achieve, and I'm glad that I was a part of.
Maybe the students come to TAFE, but with DSE support and encouragement and being the one department now, I think that's quite possible.
So we really need to think about, speaking and raising the issue with the minister, but also with the departmental bureaucrats. I mean, we've already done it on a number of occasions. I really think that there's an issue that we can argue for Aboriginal children because of the huge attrition rate that Koori kids experience, and they end up in no man's land, you know. This is probably certainly the last regional AECG meeting I will attend in my capacity as president of the AECG, and I stepped down from that position last weekend. Was it last weekend? No, the weekend before at the annual general meeting. It wouldn't be true to say that I'm not apprehensive about just stepping off into I don't know what, and I've never ever done that in my life, so I'm excited, a little bit fearful, but I'm also really comfortable with the idea of the new president, and I'm sure that this organisation, whether it's me or anyone's leading it, is going to hold its head high because it's established, fantastic staff, and the processes are in place. So I feel like I've done my work and it's time for me to move on.
Good afternoon, Aboriginal Affairs.
One of the things that I spoke with Steve about yesterday, just coming away from that and looking at sort of the mechanical side of the world, is that I'm going to ask each unit to actually produce a movement sheet the week, like, and hand it in Friday afternoon so that for Monday we'll know where everybody is.
Well, that's what we're doing as well. Gail will be doing, we've already produced a template, and so it'll be like a weekly schedule. So
Can you give that to Steve? Save reinventing the wheel. Yeah. The meeting at Barraville was huge. There was about 50 adults there, both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal. And I explained that I'd started working at the Department of Aboriginal Affairs. And they're really a community that's just crying out for more information. Yeah, okay. And what we're going to do is in early next year go back to Barraville and take one of the Reconciliation Committee travelling roadshows out there. Oh, okay. Remember we spoke about it at the last meeting? And it won't be just for Barraville, it'll be for the whole Nambucca and Bellingen. Both valleys will join up. The people that work in here are really committed, professional, competent people. And I'm really looking forward to doing a whole range of things, getting a number of projects happening across the department.
Oh, excellent.
That's great. Yeah,
that has come in.
Yeah, that has come in.
That's good. So can you...
I also have a lot to learn because I've never worked at a senior level within a government agency, and I have a lot to learn about procedures, but also I think I bring some things with me to this job that really does show that I've worked in the community at a community level for a very long time. So I think it's kind of a nice mix. I think it's going to be a really good experience. Okay? All right then. I'll ring you again later, honey. Love you too. Bye. It doesn't really matter what job you're in. You've always got to find the balance between what's reasonable in terms of work, what's reasonable in terms of home, and if you can't find that balance, my experience has been, it's been a hard experience, that you end up getting ill or something suffers, and quite often it's your family. And, you know, after working for 20 years, I hope I'm getting better at finding that balance. I think I am.
To me, Linda is a real role model. She's a woman that I can totally aspire to. Okay, I admire women, and I admire very strong women, and she is that. She's achieved so much in so many different areas, and you know, if I can achieve half as much as she does, then I'll be doing well. She has achieved much, sort of nationally, internationally, and at the local level. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's about doing a bit for your mob, and doing it at all levels. And she does it. She does it well.
She's been, you know, done so much work for the Aboriginal community, and for such a small woman, she's got so much energy. She's just marvellous.
If she can do what she's achieved in other areas, in both education and the reconciliation movement, well then, you know, DAA is on a winner, or New South Wales State Government's on a winner.
I'm now Deputy Director General at the Department of Aboriginal Affairs, and I have to say that if someone 6 months ago had said, well, you're going to be working in the bureaucracy in 6 months' time, I would have said, you've got to be kidding. But I have to say it's been a great experience coming into the department. It's a small department. It's a department that has a lot of meaning across government sectors. but it's also a department that's very important, not just to Aboriginal people, but to all people in New South Wales. So my personal challenge here is to make sure everyone out there knows exactly what we're on about, and to make sure that the advice government gets from this agency is the best advice possible. But most importantly, that it's also an agency that's here to support Indigenous people.
And that was Linda Burney, and I'm sure we'll hear more about what she's up to in future programs of Headlines. Well, next, Francis Ring spoke to ADSIC Chairman Gajal Jakura on his thoughts about reconciliation.
Where is reconciliation at the moment?
Reconciliation is, it's there, and I think if reconciliation is to achieve its aims and objectives, then I think it'll be achieved by the people's movement. The way government is dealing with Indigenous affairs is not showing a very strong leadership in terms of reconciliation, and that very much concerns me.
What effect has the appointment of Philip Ruddock had as the Minister for Reconciliation?
It's been a very significant appointment, but I sometimes wonder whether, he's got a difficult task now. I find the man very genuine. He's committed to the process of reconciliation, but I don't believe he's got the backup of the Prime Minister or the government to carry out his important task.
The job of the Reconciliation Council is to prepare a document for the year 2000. Will this be ready, and if so, what will it contain?
Well, it's we're certainly working to a time frame in that regard, and we will have a document or documents that will be presented to the government, and certainly it'll contain a lot of the important elements. I think there's got to be some, commitment of Australians coming together, the white Australia and the black Australia. And that's the sort of challenge there will be in the document, and hopefully that it will bring the nation closer together.
If reconciliation doesn't happen, where will this leave Indigenous people?
Well, it'd be a sad occasion for if we were not to meet reconciliation, because we are part of a global family, and the world's going to be looking at us, looking at this process. We've got very important events happening in Australia: the year 2000 Olympic, the year 2001 with the Republican movement. They are events that's going to put Australia on a spotlight in terms of what this country or this government is handling Indigenous Australians.
The deadline for reconciliation is to be achieved by the year 2001. In your view, will it happen, and can we achieve reconciliation in this country?
It's a very important phase, it's a very important stage of development for the nation. And I think reconciliation is possible, but it requires the change of heart of government, it needs a change of heart of people, and people need to be more creative, more enthusiastic about visions, about dreams, and that's what the reconciliation is all about. And I'm sure we can achieve it if we all believe in that philosophy, in that vision.
Every week on Headlines, we'll feature a rundown of events that are important to Indigenous communities in cities and remote areas. To find out what's happening around the country this week, let's take a look at our national calendar. This Thursday in Melbourne, the Moomba Festival kicks off at Alexandra Gardens. The festival, which runs through to the 14th of March, celebrates the cultural and ethnic diversity of Australia. There'll be several performances by Indigenous artists and activities taking place at Wadama Big Village at the Gardens. For more information, please call the number on your screen. In Darwin, the Reiki Warra exhibition will be held at the Darwin Museum from the 2nd through to the 24th of March. The exhibition will include over 100 painted and printed Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander textiles. In Sydney this Friday, the third annual luncheon for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women will be held to celebrate International Women's Day this weekend. You can attend by calling Andrea Warren at Aboriginal Affairs on this number, 92908700. Now, if you think we missed something happening in your state, this week call headlines on our special info line. Call 02 9430 3148, and every week we'll play your message on air. From a do-it-your-local footy club to a major event in your city, call and follow the prompts. Well, that's headlines this week. I hope we'll see you next Monday at 4:30, and don't forget, ICAM at 8 o'clock every Sunday night.
We're not about making flowery songs or whatever, you know, there's things that have to be said and things that we've got on our mind, so it just comes out.
I think music has been, is such a big thing amongst Aboriginal people because it's always been there. Like, who knows how old our songs are? Our songs are old. We don't measure time. We just say, yep, it's there, and that's it.
And don't forget our number for the info line is 02 9430 3148. I'm Nathan Ramsey. See you next week.